Koestenbaum, who's right here left. He was professor of philosophy for 34 years at San Jose State. And his work at San Jose State was nothing less than legendary. His classes drew sometimes 500 or 600 students. Well, these are classes in philosophy. It was not surprising his classes were so sought after. After all, his effect on his students was often transformative. And in fact, some of his students are still here right now. And I think that attests to the degree of the effect that he had on them. The facts of his remarkable career are worth being told and retold. As you know, if you read recently the San Jose Mercury News, this past February 2nd, that told part of his story anyway. His emigration to Caracas, Venezuela from Nazi Germany when he was 7. In his native Berlin, he stood 10 yards away from Hitler. 7-year-old said, he's quoted, "I was scared to death. I knew it was bad." That's 7. Speaking Spanish, German, and Hebrew, he went to Stanford, Harvard, Boston University for bachelor's, master, and doctorate degrees. Then was our good fortune that he began to teach at San Jose State. One of the many recognitions of his work here was as being named one of the 2 CSU-wide outstanding professors across the whole system. He left San Jose State in 1988, and retirement certainly is the wrong word to describe it, because our department, philosophy department, has received telephone calls literally for decades subsequently to his leaving, asking how they could reach him, asking particularly about one of his remarkable innovations, which is what he called clinical philosophy. After leaving San Jose State, he founded his own consulting firm, bringing CEOs, psychologists, city officials, union leaders, and companies such as IBM, the former chairman of Ford, the Ford family, to understand the roots of leadership and how the will to lead would be both strengthened and, this part should be underlined, humanized in ways probably unimaginable to these people at first. So I've said enough, but I cannot finish without thanking certain people. Without mentioning Ann Lawrence and Dean David Steele, who through the Comet Lecture Series helped to bring Professor Koestenbaum here. Dean Lean Bollendorf, who through the Humanities and Arts Signature Event Program also contributed to his coming here. Cynthia Rostenkowski, Chris Yoakum, put in their time and energy. And I must not fail to mention also Mr. Chick Garpino, one of his students from decades ago, who has been tireless in working, however he might, to bring Professor Koestenbaum back to San Jose State. And let's welcome Professor Koestenbaum.
Very fun. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and we need to give an apology to the people who are not coming in here. That's a terrible disservice to them, and I'm going to hang around afterwards, and we're looking for a room, and we can have a conversation as long as you want to afterwards. Then we'll tell the truth. Right now it's a bunch of propaganda things that we're going to be talking about, but we want to make sure that everyone who has been kind enough to make a statement by trying to be here is going to be acknowledged. Very important. Very important that you say something for being here. And I want you to know that I'll be around, and I think arrangements will be made to have an opportunity to be talking afterwards as well. And I owe thanks to a lot of people, and I wanted to acknowledge that, but especially to the people who have told me, which brings tears to my eyes, okay, that they were students. I see one of them sitting right there, whom I said was the smartest guy I ever met, and he sits right there looking at me, and this is my conscience, I guess. So I want to also very much acknowledge the students who have come, the former students who have come back. We're all students, we're all learners. There's no such thing as a knower. So thank you very, very much indeed. Well, we're here to make history, okay? And the name of the historical movement is that the humanities fight back. And I've got a whole bunch of papers here which will tell me what I'm supposed to say, but I will pay no attention to them, but I will have the sequence here because Professor Hadrias has him on his object. Here's my former student, by the way, and it's a person from whom I've learned everything, and we call him the leadership Darwin human. I've got these overheads right here, so I want to make sure his order is okay. I have spent my life trying to be a decent philosopher. I don't know whether I'm a good one or not. A decent philosopher. Can you all hear me? All hear me. Very important. If you don't hear me, you raise your hand, and we'll do something about that. Louder. Okay, maybe we can turn up the equipment louder. It's very important. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. Absolutely. Can't hear me in the back? Can we do something about that very quickly? Okay, who's in charge? Let's have a speaker louder. Louder. Can you hear me now? Louder? Yeah? No? Okay, can you? Louder? Okay. I've spent my life trying to make philosophy accessible first to me and then accessible to other people. And here's the answer, here's the result, here's the conclusion, if you will, an attempt to compress what I think you need to know about philosophy to translate it into leadership, which becomes in your life, whatever that may be, or in your business, or in your organization, or in your country, which becomes operational at that point and monetized. In other words, that you can be responsible for yourself in the organization, in the world in which we live, for who you are, and that you can make a contribution, and you can use philosophy to be translated into what it is that you do. And that's what I'm really all about here today. And I'd like to start out immediately by showing you the difference between philosophy and science. I was a physics major when I started here. I changed to philosophy. They're both very important. One is a STEM operation, and the other one is a heart operation. They go together, okay? And I want to show you a picture, which you will see, of the ultimate achievement of science today. I hope it's as clear as can be. This is a picture that gave made it possible for a Scotsman to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics this year or last year, and that is a picture of the boson. Okay, it is a picture of a boson. Now that is how science operates, and it's a wonderful way to operate. It is an indirect way of acquiring knowledge about the world. This is what you see, but what you infer exists is very different. It's something that I don't want to venture to explain to you, not because I don't know, but because we don't have enough time on that. But you have to be able to make some of the most sophisticated and complicated mental rationalizations, if you will, in order to translate that into what it's supposed to really refer to, a new particle, a new element, the ultimate particle in the universe that exists here for only a trillionth of a second, and this is the computer image that it gets to. Now that is the ultimate meaning of what a scientific datum looks like, and it is very difficult to access. It's wonderful. It's a great achievement, but when I am grieving about what's happening in the world today and want to explain the profundity of my grief and how we need to use philosophy to do something about that grief, that isn't really too helpful. Okay? It isn't too helpful. So I would like to show you the other kind of science that we have. This is the science about the world, which is indirect. I want to tell you something about the science that we have about the world, which is direct. And that is the next slide here. And what I have here are two quotations which are very touching to me, which also give you a datum, but give you a datum about the inner reality, not the outer reality, and have to do something with the science of the inner world, which is the science of our immediate experience, which is called in philosophy, and I love my philosophy students being here, radical empiricism. You believe what your immediate experience tells you. That is the ultimate reality that we have, and we start from there. And we also must be able to create an image of the person based on that kind of reality that is before us. And what I give you here is a reality from a woman and a man, one who was very famous in northern New York, a poetess. And this is a line that's always touched me, because here she talks about a torrid summer affair where she saw reality as it ultimately should be, love in its pure form, but was abandoned after that, as is often the case. And so she wrote these extremely painful, beautiful, concrete lines of the reality and the power of a human being. And in case I don't remember them, I am but a summer to your heart, not the full 4 seasons of the year. That makes me cry. I am but a summer to your heart, not the full 4 seasons of the year, because that is not understanding what is offered in that relationship and not realized the ultimate loss of innocence. And we should probably stop there while you wipe the tears out of your eyes, which I don't see right now too much in existence. But that's a datum, what you feel there. How do you retrieve that datum except by this kind of a fantastic poetic line? That's a fact like the boson, but it doesn't pay. Okay? The boson pays a lot, and we're going to have to do something about that. Here the humanities fight back. That's important too, and we need to have a theory of leadership that takes that into account. Now, the other one comes from a man I saw scribbled on the wall in San Francisco at a poetry reading, "Against the ruin of the world." That's the way it feels before finals. Or maybe, more accurately, after finals. Okay? Against the ruin of the world, there is one defense, the creative act. Now, do you need anything else to say something about the arts? What is it to be an artist? It is to try to give you the sense of the I am experience. What does it mean to be, as the Old Testament puts it, like God talking to Moses from the burning bush? And Moses says, "You want me to talk to the big cheese in Cairo? That's dangerous. I don't want to talk to the Pharaoh. Who are you? Who are you sending me?" And so he answers, what you see in block capitals, of course. Tell him, "I am who am sent you." And so who are you? You are the I am sayer. What does that mean? Well, the ultimate significance of being alive is to be able to say, I am, in a way that can be understood, in a way that makes sense. And that's basically what he says here. All you need in life is the capacity to understand what it means to say I am. Because to say I am, obviously I'm not the person to do that, you see. So it's you people who have to follow that. I want to make sure I get some more of this, what Don Quixote called the best wine, and Pancho Sanza called the cheapest as well, you know. I want to have a way to explain the meaning. I want to have a way to explain the meaning of the I am experience. And how can I do that best? By saying I'm saying I am in response to the ruin of the world. Now, what does it mean to say I am? Well, that's what philosophy is all about. So I thought we set it straight. This is a science. This is the science of inwardness, to learn how to understand what we immediately experience and make it accessible to the world in which we live and operationalize it and monetize it. Now go ahead and do it simply by translating philosophy into leadership. And we do that by looking at the next slide, if you'll be kind enough, okay. This is my version of the humanities program when I used to teach here. And there were 4 semesters, and I was one of the earliest professors in that program. I was in that program about 10 years, and it was one of the great programs, and it still is, in this university. And I said to myself, if you wanted to be a leader, you needed to take 4 semesters of this program and all 20 semester units. And you have to do a good job. And it covers these 4 areas. It covers the understanding, not just the intellectual understanding, but the lived and the dialogic understanding, the understanding that you live it by being it and by communicating that way. The meaning of courage, that is 1 semester, although it's spread throughout the whole 2 years. And then to understand the meaning of ethics, which is something related to courage, but it isn't quite the same thing. They belong together. That's another semester of spending time, but they're all sort of intertwined and interfused there. And then the 3rd semester deals with reality, which is when the avocado hits the fan, and things really get tough and difficult. And then finally, the crowning semester is when you are a person who deals with vision, and we deal with that particular category of the human existence, but it's all intermingled in lectures and conversations and in papers and in readings and what have you. And that was really the answer to how philosophy can become a living leadership force in existence and enter the being who you are in making life possible. Now, could I have again the first of these overheads to put it in context, because this is thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, here. Now, I don't want to spill this on anyone. This is in case everything fails, I pour this over my head, okay? Now, I want you to go back to this, because if you ask somebody, what does it mean to say I am? Who are you? I am. I'm going to say I am. Can you hear me in the back still? Okay. I am. You pound your chest. Well, the chest, to go back now here, has these 4 themes. The philosophy that we're talking about here is in the form of questions, that you have to be able to understand and talk intelligently, speak intelligently, passionately, and willingly on 4 questions, because that's what they are. Live the question. Don't worry about the answers. Live the question as best as you can in this world, and you will be the right kind of a person. What is courage, which is philosophical question number 3 here? What is ethics? What is reality? And what is vision? So I'm going to walk you through what those 3 questions really are, and this is how we're going to do that. We're going to look at the next slide, which is slide number 5, which we call the path of the everyday hero. The path of the everyday hero, which is what you are, the everyday hero. And we're going to walk you through these 4 dimensions, as it were. And what are we really talking about when these 4 questions are hurled at you? When you come out of the shell, out of the egg, and you look at the world and you say, what do I do now? Okay? And Kant had a nice answer, the philosopher Kant. He said, I have 3 questions. Who am I? No, what am I? What ought I do? And what may I hope? And I got to answer those questions essentially in this way. Now, so let's get started on those 3 questions, okay? And let's look at the next page here, if you please, which I no longer have numbered. Okay, here's how we look at making those 3 questions come alive. Maybe I came back to the older slide first. Give me back the previous slide for a second. Okay, we start with courage, and with the courage that you have, you make a decision to be ethical, and with the ethics and courage that you have, you make a decision to face reality, and with having now being armed, as it were, with your 3 helpers, courage, the warrior, ethics, the healer, reality, the warrior, you're ready now to create a vision, an image of what life ought to be and what leadership really is all about, and you can really look forward and you could look ahead. So let me do that by going through this diamond, and maybe show me that again. Let's go through this now. And the way I'm going to do that is by looking at the page after that, which will tell you how I'm going to go through that. Okay, here are your 4 questions. And we'll have this, we want to have this available in some way for you on the internet through a URL, and we'll work out how to make that, put it on the department website so you can look at that and go through the same slides that you have here. And this would be helpful, I think, for you to really digest that, if you will. So let's see. Okay, let me, here we are. All right, we start with number, okay, yeah, okay. So the first question, what is courage? Can be answered in a very, very simple way, and I've worked very hard to understand what we're really saying by that. Here's one phrase that you can use in your real life. Never say die. All right? Never say die. Make that decision. It's a decision that you make with all you are, and that's what we're talking about here. And that dialogic and embodied decision, see, never to say die, is really the meaning of courage, and try to figure out how to bring that up. But all by itself, it doesn't work. If that's all you do, it doesn't work. It's very important to understand. They work in conjunction. They work together. So the second one, you as a person now who is doing what we do when we say never say die, you always take the initiative, and you always are willing to take a risk, but a measured and a careful risk. Now you've got to think about those things. You've got to deconstruct what those things really mean. Never say die. Always understand that whatever happens, you're going to take the initiative. Don't ask, what do I do now? But take the initiative and understand that this involves a risk, and don't be stupid about it, but don't ignore it, and don't make it just a mathematical thing, but understand what you're doing. These are 3 words that are central, and I learned them from you. They're in us. We're born that way, as Plato already told us, but we have to live them, and we have to know what that really means. But beware, if that's all you do, you're going to be finished. You've got to have all 4 that you are in command before you're a full human being. And that's really everything. You can go home after that, and that'll take care of it. And I learned that from you, and you learned that by looking inward, not by studying science, technology, engineering, and math, but in order to do a good job at science, technology, engineering, and math, which is STEM, in order to do a good job, you're going to have to first be a leader, first be capable of making those decisions. That's what it means when we say the humanities come back, and that can only be done by human beings. Otherwise, we will end the world and just have the computers do everything by themselves, and then we're disappeared, and the world is now doing everything by computer, and so everything, so we don't need human beings. But that wasn't quite the idea when we started. So something went wrong somewhere. It was the other way around, but it may be too late if we don't watch out. Okay. Now, the second thing now, that you've made the decision with your body to be a courageous individual, you realize that now you are in dialogue, and that you're part of a world, that you're part of a community, that you're part of a system, and you can change that, but you're there, and that changes everything. All of you here, I see all of your faces. You see only mine right now. I see all of your faces, these 2 eyes. Don't you think that makes me feel guilty and self-conscious, and say, what am I doing here, you know? I see all of those 2. It's like a rifle with 2 barrels, you know, looking at me here. It doesn't seem like a very safe place to be. But here I am, and in a sense, I have to recognize that if I were to look into those 2 eyes, I would see a universe as infinite, an infinite universe that is you, your consciousness, your awareness. My God, this is what you talk about, one universe. There are hundreds of universes that I see right now inside you, and they're all there. They're like me inside. It's tremendous, and that's what when I say I am. That's what I'm saying I am too. I better watch it. I better be careful. I better be cautious. Don't think I'm the only person. Don't think that the whole world is like me. Bernard Shaw says that very beautifully. He says, in St. Joan, she says to a priest there, you are a barbarian because you think that the customs of your tribe are the laws of nature, okay? This is what you think. It's where you've organized the world. Everybody else here has organized the world in a different way. We have to know what it means to be collective, to be a totality, to work together, which is very difficult. It's nothing more difficult than to learn how to work together. So we have to here relationships are everything. Relationships are everything, okay? And it's like Peter Drucker saying marketing is everything. The greatest guru in business saying marketing is everything. Well, remember that, forget your business degree. And here, forget everything else. Relationships is everything. If you forget that, forget everything else. Now you say, I am, but it's not just you. You say, I am as a nobody, all of us, in this huge sea of people, in this huger sea of people in history. That's what we're doing. We're saying, I am in that category, in that capacity. So here now, we have to think of two things. And notice, one is, as William James says, tender-minded, and the other one, as William James says, is tough-minded. Tender-minded says compassion, tough-minded says justice. Those are the two themes that matter in ethics. Relationship is everything, and that means compassion, humility, and it means, you can't hear me? You can? It says louder, somebody over there. Okay? Anyway, compassion and justice. Justice is hard, justice is tough, compassion. All right, then we go to number, let's see, 5, okay. Number 5 is reality, okay? Now reality is quite different right now. Reality, to put it in one word, is, at the bottom here, is, okay, reality, I guess I got in the wrong place. Okay. Anyway, reality is responding to the power of fate, responding to the power of fate's harshest blows. Okay, responding to the power of fate's harshest blows. Okay, now that is, okay, I see that here. Okay, responding to the power of fate's harshest blows. And I would say right here, that's the most difficult one. I would say of all the things, and I'm older than all of you here, probably there's no one older than me here, and I don't feel it, but I am. You make me feel young. But the most difficult of these 4 points is to realize that you live in a world that doesn't even know you exist. You live in a universe that's cold and indifferent, and you have to come to terms with that. And that's the way it is, and you have to understand it. And the universe, which it means requires your capacity, and I think that is somewhere not here, of dealing with issues of economics and issues of health. Those are the two issues that you have to deal with it. You have to have enough money to pay your bills, and you have to be feeling well enough and physically in order to function as a human being. And ultimately, that is the dimension that is most difficult to master, and in education and all the skills that you learn in an education should help you in that regard. But remember, it's all 4 of those things. It's not just one. And I cannot emphasize that enough, because many people make the mistake. They think if I do only one of those things, everything is going to be okay. But if you do only one of those things, there's a train crash ahead. But if you do all 4, there's a breakthrough ahead for you. And the last one then is vision. And here in a vision, we have being sharply alert to a future of innovation and possibility where deep change and transformation are necessary, doable, and safe. Now that's a long term, but it is extremely important to keep that clearly in mind, because anything you want to do, if anything has to do with the old cliche of getting a job and all of that, and graduation and all that, is essentially a cliche. But to make it in the real world, you have to make a decision with all the I am power that you have. You have to make a decision with all of the capacity that you have to be connected with people and the free will that you have. You may have to make a decision to deal with the reality. I'm sorry, I'm a senior moment here. Just one quick second here. You have to come to terms. I have to come to terms with the reality that faces you every day and is unforgiving, completely and totally unforgiving. And that is the point that I would say is most difficult to remember and to do, and to be humble vis-a-vis of, and where you have to be as explicit as you can. And the vision is then to have the philosophy. Okay, the vision